please check if the patient is on multiple drugs, cross-check their reactions and see whether it is the cause of constipation. Otherwise, you will be producing one more disease by adding another drug. So that's important with that. Then we come back from drugs, we come back to increasing age. Elderly constipation is an important. What's the percentage?
Yes, more than 80% of the patients at the increasing age, they develop constipation. And as said, it's largely because of lack of exercise, decreased motility, taking less of fibers or less of liquids, and added diseases like Parkinson's or diabetes or comorbid.
Food habits also.
The food habits changes. You eat less, you take less water.
They take less water.
When we say elderly means 60 plus?
They say 65. The data from the West is above 65 that they say it's more common. The reasons I think all which have been mentioned, probably some of the reasons we don't understand. Maybe there's some change in the motility, we don't know.
And of course, these are the people who may end up into a fecal infection also. These are the people, apart from the one who are admitted in the hospital. Reduce physical activity. Any comments?
There is no evidence to say that the reduced physical activity will cause constipation, but there is some evidence to say that if you do exercise and all that, it may help in relieving the constipation.
And something interesting I want to spend time, because he says low socio-economic status. That's the Western criteria. In India, it may probably be the reverse. The richer are the people who are going to get constipated, not the poor.
Dr. K.K. Agarwal, another most important is BPOs. Shift duties.
Shift duties, yes.
Very much. All those people.
See, which is another well-recognized entity along with that is when you go for long flight over international travels, and there is a jet lag and the pattern changes, and a lot of people will complain of constipation or restart of the bowel symptoms at that stage.
So BPO, then your nurses on shift duties, people on shift duties on the airport, BPOs. There may be a change in the circadian rhythm, and they may complain of disturbed bowel habits. As far as low socioeconomic status is concerned, I think it is related to eating fiber. In India, more and more rich people are taking away from fiber and going into chini chawal maida culture. The most important thing, and the whole session today, if you have to end up this session, we have to go back with two messages. One, how to treat constipation. Number two, not to miss secondary causes.
Constipation is such a common problem. One has to take a call when to investigate when, whom to investigate when. So what is the usual thing, what we call as a red flags? Red flags are based on two primary things. That when you are suspecting that there could be any cancer or any other serious disorder, and all these things will manifest in few ways. That is anemia or a bleeding per rectum. Second, patient having loss of weight. I mean, if you combine these two primary issues, then most of the red flag signs are covered in that. Other than that, there will be minor issues like a recent change in bowel habits in an elderly person. 4, persistent constipation even after adequate medicines. And 5th, of course, will be any obstructive symptoms. Check the hemoglobin, check the stool or gallbladder, and then take care. Of course, before that you have taken care of the other drugs and everything. And if all these are indicators, go for investigation. And investigation primarily means colonoscopy.
Rajiv, can you just classify secondary causes of constipation?
I think Ajay has already given a very good summary, but if you're going to classify secondary causes of constipation, we can put them in 4 simple groups. The first is mechanical causes. If there's an obstruction, whether it is a stricture or a narrowing in the large intestine, or a cancer, or a stricture because of a cancer. Number 2 is drugs, which we have talked at great length. Number 3 is metabolic causes. And of the metabolic causes of secondary constipation, the primary ones will be diabetes and hypothyroid. Also remember hypercalcemia, hypokalemia. Also remember in a younger age group, pregnancy. And the 4th group is neurological causes. Ajay mentioned Parkinson's disease, a very common cause, autonomic neuropathies, multiple sclerosis, people who've had strokes. Post-CVA constipation is very common, and of course spinal cord injury.
So there are four classifications. Now we come back to our red flags. Dr. Thakur, how important is anemia as a red flag in GI practice?
Whenever a patient comes to you with any abdominal symptom, it is very important to do a general examination of the patient. And the moment you find that your patient who is giving you symptoms which may appear very non-specific but has anemia, please concentrate on this patient. He is the one who requires your time.
What is your definition of anemia? At what level you must get concerned if you have anemia? Yes.
Depends on the health of the patient and his previous record. The socio-economic class we treat today, they've got their reports every year. Hemoglobin 14, 1 year back, 2 years back, hemoglobin 11, very important. I'll wake up and I'll target this patient. If he is repeatedly carrying a hemoglobin of 11, I may not give that much of importance. So I think it's a relative situation. But once your patient with a digestive tract problem has anemia, it could be two very important things. Are you dealing with malabsorption, that is decreased absorption of essential nutrients and a production problem in the bone marrow, or is he losing blood? So if a patient comes with constipation, anemia, focus on occult loss of blood from his gastrointestinal tract. I would follow an age of 50, 45 as a cutoff. Anemia below that, I'll not get very alarmed. Anemia more than 45, 50 years, I'll get very alarmed. So anemia is a very important sign or sign of blood loss. Do his stool occult blood. It could be something as simple as hemorrhoid. It could be something like an anal fissure. It could be a polyp. But you need to rule out the most sinister condition, that is a malignancy, for which a colonoscopy is very, very important.
So don't miss anemia. The second thing Ajay said was loss of weight. Dr. Singla, what do you mean by loss of weight in terms of GI practice? How will we say that patient has a loss of weight?
10%.
10%? Anybody? Dr. Ajay, what do you mean when you said?
More than 10%.
More than 10%.
Over a particular time. In addition to what has been said about anemia, I like to mention, when you're looking at GI tract and you're looking at anemia, please classify whether it's iron deficient or not. And that is the most important, because the blood loss will cause iron deficient anemia. We keep on jumping to very expensive investigations, including bone marrows and electrophoresis and all those things. Please first focus on a simple peripheral smear which gives us a valuable information. And if you have an iron deficiency anemia and then you have a stool occult blood positive, you go all out at upper GI endoscopy, colonoscopy, small bowel evaluation to make sure that there is a lesion in the small bowel, in the intestines.
Another term used by Ajay was change in bowel habits. I would like my panelists to define what do you mean by a change in bowel habits.
I would say it is a recent change in the patient's bowel habit. It could be constipation progressive, it could be constipation alternating with diarrhea, it could be diarrhea but persisting. So that is very important, change relative to that particular patient from his pre-existing pattern of diarrhea or motion.
There is also a terminology when we were in MBBS, we were taught alternating constipation and diarrhea, and they said IBS versus cancer. The alternative constipation and diarrhea, think of either IBS or cancer. Is it still holds true?
I don't think that holds true. And actually in IBS now one has had a better understanding, and you start labeling, it's not a single disease entity, it is a symptom complex of a different thing and predominant symptoms of particular type in a one particular individual. Like it could be a diarrhea predominant, it could be constipation predominant, it could be a mixed thing, or it could be a bloating sensation, extra flatulence and all those things.
What about alternative constipation diarrhea as a sign of colonic cancer?
It's not like that. See what happens is, yes, patients of cancer, if they have a partial obstruction, they can have ongoing constipation for 2 to 3 days, and after that, if they clear, they suddenly purge. So that will also cause alternative diarrhea constipation. So let's not get into this terminology of alternating diarrhea constipation.
So any change of bowel habit?
Individualize patient and evaluate that.
Most of our patients who have constipation will automatically relieve themselves with laxatives. So when you are going to define diarrhea, constipation, make sure the patient is not on laxatives, which in clinical practice is very difficult. And make sure he is not treating that constipation with laxatives and getting diarrhea due to that.
Absolutely.
Let's make it as simple as possible. Anyone who comes in with constipation, first thing you do is rule out simple metabolic causes, do a CBC, do a test for thyroid disease, diabetes, calcium levels, rule out standard causes.
But you specifically said calcium, but that's something which 90% here will not be doing in chronic constipation. Should they be doing it?
You know, it is one of the causes, hypercalcemia, so it's worth doing. Number two, if the patient is below the age of 50, further investigations are called for only in the red flags that were mentioned. And the red flags, to reiterate, are bleeding with the stool, weight loss, fever, abnormal blood tests, recent onset of constipation, and very important in the West and unfortunately increasingly important here is a family history of colon cancer. If someone below the age of 50 had these things, then they go straight for a colonoscopy. Above the age of 50, if someone has chronic constipation, they go for a colonoscopy regardless. I think these are basic guidelines. They are simple and they can be followed.
Everybody, all the panelists to say, in India, what should we follow as the guidelines for doing colonoscopy?
I think basically all the red flags.
No red flags. First is asymptomatic. Let's take my example. No red flags. Should I go for a colonoscopy at the age 50 plus?
I think why KK has asked this question is because in the West, the colon cancer incidence, colonic polyps and colon cancer is very high. And it has been introduced, everybody above the age of 50 has been advised that you should undergo colonoscopy once. And depending upon the results of the colonoscopy, the further colonoscopy duration is decided. In India, the incidence of colon polyps and cancer is not that high. So we do not follow the universal colonoscopy.
So colonoscopy 50 plus.
The age of 50.
Asymptomatic.
But at the same time, any patient with a strong family history of colon cancer must be advised to undergo that.
Okay, in India, no colonoscopy unless indicated. What about occult blood?
Occult blood is a very difficult test to interpret. There are strong false positive and of course not so much of false negative. Let me put it like this. If I have a patient with a iron deficiency anemia, which I cannot explain by any other means, and for any reason patient has any GI symptoms, I will not waste my time on doing a stool occult blood, because that could be fallacious and misleading. But yes, if you are screening otherwise, in a screening test, stool occult blood may be of some relevance. I think to play safe, get a stool occult blood done.